Well, if there are no good cops, maybe there are good corrections officers. At least the corrections officers in the state of New York, right? Today, we're dealing with the death of Robert Brooks. Now, before we even get started with this body cam footage, most of which I can't show you on the YouTube platform, we don't have the whole story. Apparently, the body cams of all of these cops, and there were like a dozen of them, weren't activated. So we don't have any audio, but they were live streaming to the State Patrol Service based on what I read. So it's possible that none of these cops who were involved in the brutal murder, which is exactly what it was, of Robert Brooks, had any idea that their body cameras were recording. But something tells me that even if they knew the body cameras were recording, at least visually in this case, they wouldn't have stopped. And surprisingly, you're going to be shocked, sit down for this one, not one good corrections officer was on the scene to stop the bloodshed. And there was bloodshed. There was brutality. It was absolutely horrific. And if you want to see the entire thing, I will leave the link in the description below. There's so much I can't show you here. So before we even get started, Robert Brooks was incarcerated. He was charged and he was convicted. He was doing 12 years for first-degree assault. From what I read, and it's very difficult. I even plugged this into ChatGPT and I asked what exactly Robert Brooks was arrested for and what he was charged with and what his actual crime was. And I said, give me the details on Robert Brooks' assault charges in New York. And it says Robert Brooks was serving a 12-year prison sentence for first-degree assault in New York. In December 2024, while incarcerated at Marcy Correctional Facility, which we're going to get into, he was fatally beaten by corrections officers, but it doesn't specifically list what Robert Brooks' crime was, only that he was serving a 12-year prison sentence for first-degree assault. And first-degree assault is, quote, a severe criminal offense involving intentionally causing serious physical harm to another person. While the exact legal definition varies by jurisdiction, it generally includes one or more of the following elements: intentional serious injury, use of a deadly weapon, premeditation, and aggravating factors. And from what I've read, from what I've been able to gather, Robert Brooks stabbed his girlfriend intentionally. So Robert Brooks is not a good guy by any means either. I'm not saying any of that. So just make sure you understand. I'm not just this outright balls to the wall cop correctional facilities members haters. But you gotta be honest with the facts, okay? The guy, Robert Brooks, may have had his problems and he may have instigated something that got the cops upset. But they're supposed to be the professionals. They're supposed to be the protectors and servants of the people. They're supposed to be the ones who are maintaining peace and order. And nothing could be further from the truth, especially when you watch this video right here. So I'm just going to read this article to you from ABC7. We're going to make some comments along the way, but just note that I just want to show you the amount of people who were in this hospital room right here. I counted 9 or 10 just in that room at one time, counting the guy who's actually recording this. And there were multiple body cameras going. This guy right here had a body cam. This guy had one. This guy had one. This guy had one. And of course, we're looking through the body cam of the cop or the corrections officer who was recording this whole incident from his vantage point. The article says a man fatally beaten in a New York prison this month was repeatedly pummeled by corrections officers. Yes, he was, while in handcuffs, and that is such a cowardly act. Can you imagine encountering someone who is completely helpless against your advancements and violence and continuing to beat the guy until he is no longer breathing? I mean, that is psychopathy right there. That's psychopathy 101. These cops, these corrections officers, and even the people, the young kids, you'll see at the end, I'm going to show you these young guys waiting in the hall and watching this whole thing going on with smiles and smirks on their faces. I'll show you that in a second if I remember. while he was in handcuffs, he was struck in the chest by a shoe. It doesn't mention in this article right here, but something was stuffed in this guy's mouth. He was lifted up by the neck and dropped. Robert Brooks, 43, was pronounced dead on December 10th, the morning after the assault at the Marcy Correctional Facility in Oneida County. 13 corrections officers and a nurse implicated in the attack will face termination? Why aren't they facing incarceration? These people are a danger to others out on the street. You mean they are allowed to go home, sleep in their own beds, open their own refrigerator, get their own food? They're free to go out and drive on the streets and walk among us at the grocery store? The governor said this was, quote, an outrage, and that she was horrified by the videos of the, quote, senseless killings. The footage made public Friday by New York Attorney General Letitia James shows corrections officers repeatedly punching Brooks in the face and the groin as he sits handcuffed on a medical examination table. As one of the officers uses a shoe to strike Brooks in the stomach, and from what I gather, it was Brooks' own shoe, another yanks him up by his neck and drops him back on the table. The officers then remove the man's shirt and pants as he lies motionless and bloodied on his back. Again, not one man in that room stopped the chaos, stopped the brutality, stopped the horrific nonsense that was happening from all the other corrections officers, which tells me there's not one good corrections officer there. And Letitia James mentions it. Kathy Hochul, the governor, mentions it, but she's like, don't let this be a bad reflection on all corrections officers. 100% of the corrections officers who were involved in this Robert Brooks thing, 100% of them were sadistic as they watched a real-time murder take place in front of their very eyes, and they did nothing about it. Nothing. And this isn't me saying that Robert Brooks is any kind of angel that deserves special treatment or whatever, but these corrections officers should not have done what they did. It is absolutely wrong. They wouldn't, and there's only one reason that you have to prove that this is wrong, and that is none of those corrections officers, if sitting on that examination table, would want that same action to come upon them. Not one, if they're being honest. Brooks was declared dead at the hospital the following morning. Preliminary findings from a medical examination indicate, quote, concern for asphyxia due to compression of the neck as the cause of death, as well as the death being due to actions of another, end quote. The final results of the autopsy are still pending. The video does not include audio because the body cameras had not been activated by the officers wearing them. And I'm telling you this, if Robert Brooks had died the exact same way, under the exact same circumstances, and there was no recording, nothing would have been done to these officers. And even now, nothing's really being done. All they're suggesting is that every one of the officers and the medical staff be terminated. They should be charged, and they should be jailed, and they should be sitting in a jail cell wondering what their fate is going to be. And their fate should be they should go to jail for as long as Robert Brooks would have been in jail. 12 years. Letitia James said her office was investigating the use of force that led to the death. There's not really much to investigate. Once you watch this video, it's pretty clear what's going on, even though you don't have audio. But did not say whether or not any of the officers involved in the beating would face criminal charges. Quote, these videos, this is Letitia James, these videos are shocking and disturbing, and I advise all to take appropriate care before choosing to watch them. An attorney for Brooks did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Brooks had been serving a 12-year prison sentence for first-degree assault since 2017, and then it just stops there. I don't care I read the CNN article, ABC, CBS, NBC. Nobody specifically details exactly what Brooks did to catch that charge. And I think there's no journalistic integrity if you don't include that. I think that's dishonest. That's being dishonest. It's being disingenuous. It's not being forthright or truthful with your readers. People should know that. That's a vital piece of this entire puzzle. Brooks arrived at the Marcy Correctional Facility only hours before the beating after being transferred from another nearby state prison. I don't know what initiated this negative contact. The Correctional Association of New York, a prison oversight group, said that they documented reports of pervasive brutality and racism inside the Marcy Correctional Facility during a monitoring visit 2 years ago. And just like the Knapp Commission and the Mullen Commission, which investigated widespread, massive criminality within the New York City Police Department and concluded that, the brutality and theft and extortion and widespread thin blue line criminality that was going on back in the Knapp Commission days in the 1970s, well, it's even worse now during the Mullen Commission in the 90s. And do you think that stuff gets any better all by itself? Remember, it was Frank Serpico who spearheaded the Knapp Commission when he was basically ousted by the thin blue line for being a whistleblower. In a statement, the president of the New York State Sheriff's Association, Craig DeMond, said that he was, quote, shocked like all right-thinking people by the actions of the officer. And then he said, no human being should be treated that way by another human being. And it's made even worse by the fact that the extreme cruelty was inflicted by those entrusted with the power of government against those who were entrusted to guard and protect. There was another article that said, one of the top officials in New York said, don't let this be a reflection on all corrections officers. Don't even let it be a bad reflection on the correction officers at the Marcy Correctional Facility. How can it not be when you don't have one correctional facility officer stepping in to stop the evil, or even holding somebody back from doing something that is clearly evil? And the last thing that I wanted to show you about this, and again, if you want to watch this entire video, it was put up by an ABC News affiliate in New York. I will leave that link in the description. You should really take a look at it. Most of the first part of the video up until about the 6-minute mark is just filled with just this briefing template. But I just want to show you the faces of the young kids out in the hall. I'm just going to play this right here. As the murder is taking place in this exam room, this is the look on these young men's faces. No, there's not going to be any sound, but look at them. I don't know if they're medical staff or what, but this guy in the beige shirt, he's got a smirk and a smile on his face. And you'll see the guy with the black shirt. What's his name? There's a name on that. Abe. It says DSN. RN. He's an RN. He's a registered nurse. And he's standing by watching the murder of a human being. Watch the smile on his face. His name's Abe. Look, smiling. And then he'll be laughing here in a second. Look at it. Laughing. Just laughing. While a man's life is ebbing away. What is wrong with these correction officers? What is wrong with the medical staff? What is wrong with our world? That people think they can get away with this kind of stuff. Maybe they didn't know they were being recorded, but we've seen time and time again where even when they know they're being recorded, they still can't help being criminals. They still can't help the brutality. They still can't help but release the floodgates of violence on anybody who might have offended them or caused them some kind of discomfort. Leave your thoughts about this for the world and the global thought police in the comment section below. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know. Don't forget to subscribe to my email list through my website, highimpactflix.com. Also, be sure to go to my Disturbing Illusion channel, where we reveal and expose the political paradigm dog and pony show under the Washington's District of Criminals Big Top. I will see you in the next video.